Weather Geeks, Sundays at noon on the Weather Channel.
It's 53 minutes after the hour. It's time for Tropical Update. Brian Norcross here in the lab at the Weather Channel. Lots going on in the tropics, all kind of different things, and we have interesting pictures to look at. And I'll show you what's the most interesting one, maybe already over in Africa, all the way over in Africa. Let's take a look. Okay, first of all, let's look at the wide view here, the variety of things that Mother Nature has delivered to us in the tropics here as we head into the hurricane season. Couple systems over here in the Pacific, little bit of an area to watch, really of fairly low concern, though, in the Gulf. There's our Hurricane Cristobal. Here's an area to watch, which normally in that position we'd be quite concerned, but this one does not look like it'll develop in the short term anyway. And then here's the one that's a pretty strong tropical wave coming off of Africa. So let's look at this as far as the weather pattern across the Atlantic and what's driving these things. We have this big Bermuda high here, which is a common feature all summer long across the Atlantic. It just takes different shapes and different forms through the summer, and that's why these things drive in different directions. So the system over Africa is being driven on off to the west there. The system here in the western part of the Atlantic near the islands there is being driven kind of around the high, so it's expected to turn. And there's our hurricane going on up into the North Atlantic around the high. So that's the way it's set up right now. Now, as we go ahead through the rest of the week and on to the weekend, watch what happens. The jet stream, which is this wavy band of air to the north, sometimes digs into the high here and makes it weaker. We call that actually a weakness in the high. And so that's going to affect the steering of systems that come along, especially over here. And the one that's over Africa is expected to move on out near the Cape Verde Islands. And then it has kind of two options. They kind of that fork in the road situation again. Either it turns to the north in the weakness there, or it continues, it kind of misses that weakness. There's enough of the high and enough flow in here to keep it going on off to the west, and it may even get stronger. The U.S. GFS model, that's the American model, actually this is next week now, a week from now, puts it here, kind of turning it to the north and makes it quite strong. You see the streamlines there really swirling around. It actually gets quite strong and could become a hurricane there. The European model keeps it weak and moves on off to the west. So we're looking a week ahead there. We're not really certain, but that's what we're going to be looking at. For now, the National Hurricane Center calls for possible development in this area right here and a 40% chance of that development. All right, Hurricane Cristobal now, obviously moving away, not of a threat, 75-mile-per-hour winds, 984 millibars, moving north at 15. Hurricane hunters out there continuously. Here's that track on Cristobal as it moves by Bermuda, but tomorrow late in the day as it comes up in this area here somewhere, tropical storm force winds may affect Bermuda, so tropical storm watch in effect there for the island. You may get winds 40, 50 miles an hour. Just be aware of that. And then it moves into the North Atlantic, and as it passes by Newfoundland up here, it no longer will be a hurricane. The thinking is just be a strong North Atlantic storm, kind of a wintertime type storm with 80-mile-an-hour winds. A little bit of an area there in the Gulf of Mexico, just a cluster of thunderstorms now with a little bit of rotation. Keeping an eye on that, but only a 10% chance of development there. And off to the Pacific, there's our hurricane, and here's our tropical depression. Here on the water vapor, there's tropical depression down there. Look at the wind from Marie. It's kind of blowing out and tearing Carina, the tropical depression, apart. That's why that storm is weakening. Here's the news on Marie. It's down to 100 miles an hour now, with 968 is the estimated pressure. No hurricane hunters out there, so estimates made by the forecasters of the National Hurricane Center. And here's the future track on Marie. You see it's just entering the cooler water. Right there where the green is, that's where the water goes down in the 70s, and that's a weakening factor for these tropical systems. So it is expected to weaken down to a tropical storm, tropical depression off the coast of California, but well offshore. The big effect, very heavy surf there along the California coast. All right, Paul and Kelly, back to you.
All right, thanks, Brian. Well, with the activity in the tropics comes the concern now for rip currents.
The long holiday weekend is fast approaching, and if your plans take you to the beach, we've got an important heads up for you. Kim Cunningham, Mark Elliott will break down the dangers, including what you need to know before you get in that water.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, partly cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, low 77. Winds north-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Wednesday, scattered thunderstorms. High 90. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
No direct threat to land, but tropical systems will bring high waves, wind, and dangerous rip currents to the east and west coasts. Coming up, we will show you the hurricanes causing the problems and when their impacts will be felt. Also, what it could mean for your Labor Day weekend. Hey everyone, I'm Kim Cunningham. We hope you had a great day today. This is Weather Center Live. We begin in the tropics where we are tracking 2 hurricanes plus a tropical wave that has been closing in on the Caribbean. For a closer look at all the activity, let's send it over to the lab and senior hurricane specialist Brian Norcross. Hey, Brian.
Hi, Kim, and good afternoon from the lab here with lots going on in the tropics. A lot of little systems, no big threats to the U.S. right now, except for, as Kim was saying, this issue along the coast with the extremely high surf and strong currents in the water. So that's the big threat. But anyway, lots of interesting things and some things maybe down the road. Let's go ahead and take a look, first of all, at the one that's closest to home. And that's this system that's in the Gulf of Mexico. We've been talking about it the last couple of days. Kind of make out a rotation in there. And anytime we see a swirl and thunderstorms in the Gulf of Mexico here at the peak of hurricane season, the water out there is near 90 degrees. So a tremendous amount of fuel for a potential system to develop. We don't see any sign of it. As a matter of fact, it looks like the rotation may be even weakening a little bit. But when we look at the buoys, what we see is indeed the winds are rotating. Look at the directions there. And you see 22-mile-an-hour winds. So anyway, there's some good gusts with those thunderstorms there right along the Louisiana coast. Now, the National Hurricane Center is monitoring this, but they only have a 10% chance of developing into a tropical depression or a tropical storm as it drifts on off to the west toward the Texas coast, and it will likely affect the weather along the coast here later in the week and into the weekend. Here's what the models are saying. You can see in the flow, now this flow is actually coming around Cristobal, and then it gets this kink in it right there, and that's kind of a leftover front, that dashed line there that got pushed down into the Gulf. And now watch what happens here as it goes into the future. You see that kink kind of move to the south and to the west, and a little bit of a swirl develops here. The thinking is that this will just move into the coast before it has a chance to develop. But these are the things we look for. Another little swirl down in here. But these are the things we look for to see if sometimes old fronts in the Gulf of Mexico develop into something. But we're really not expecting that one, too. All right, off to Cristobal, and the hurricane hunters are out there. 2 planes out there today. One is an Air Force plane, and one is a NOAA research plane. And they have been sending us back data all day. And so we have good readings here. These are measured readings, 75 miles per hour, pressure at 984 millibars, moving to the north at 15. So they have the 2 planes out there really not because they need 2 planes, but because they're doing a lot of research here at the peak of the hurricane season and learning things that they'll study for the next, the foreseeable future, actually. And where's that storm going to go? Oh, first of all, I wanted to show you this fantastic satellite picture. Look at Mother Nature in motion here. That's the eye wall of Cristobal trying to form there, and you can see the thunderstorms bubbling up there, and that's where the most intense part of the storm is. You can also see the flow here. Look at the flow coming down on the west side of the storm. Now, why isn't it developing? Because this dry air is being pulled in there because of somewhat unfavorable upper-level winds, but it's not so bad that it can't develop some, and it is expected perhaps to intensify just a little bit. As to where it's going, it's this dip in the jet stream coming along here. You can see it. It's going to drive it on up to the north, and the models are all very fairly unified here, so we have high confidence in this forecast now as compared to when the models were all over the place a couple days ago, remember, where we weren't sure that this is going to go between the U.S. and Bermuda and Miss Atlantic Canada as well, but perhaps be a decent Category 1, maybe even Category 2 hurricane as it speeds by Bermuda, but they do have tropical storm watches in effect for a fringe effect. So this is the only one that's anywhere near us, but that has the low possibility. But we have all these other things in the tropics going on, really interesting over in Africa, and of course I'll cover all of that here coming up this hour. See you back here in a few minutes. Kim?
All right, thanks, Brian. A line of thunderstorms rolled through Chicago this afternoon. This picture was taken just before they arrived. Now, the front is through, so we're expecting drier, even milder conditions tomorrow. How about temperatures in the mid-70s? And you know, that same line of storms that hit Chicago hit Detroit, causing flooding like this. Wow, streets in the metro area were swamped during the evening rush with 1 to 2 inches of rain on the north side of town. And you know, this just happening just 2 weeks after historic rainfall flooded major freeways and damaged thousands of homes, something we did not want to see again. Well, the front will come through tonight. Temperature today, 90 degrees. Tomorrow, mid-70s to 80 degrees, so very nice. All right, meteorologist Mark Elliott is here to show us where that system is now and what we can expect tomorrow. Mark.
Yeah, Kim, we've got a lot of storms out there right now. And in fact, right now, lightning strikes being reported in Texas, where 3 kids were just struck by lightning. We're going to watch those storms as well. But let me show you what's going on right now. We start off in the Midwest, and this is an epic view of the storms. It's a combination of the radar and the satellite. Storms that were north of Indianapolis with all that rain-cooled air pushed out that cold air. So this is that outflow boundary, this long backward C shape where the storms are firing, but it's basically the end of the game for these storms because that cold air has rushed out. So a lot of these storms are collapsing. A couple of areas that we could see some active weather. One is Cleveland, because we have the storms that went through Detroit and caused that flooding. Well, they're going across the lake, and because there's no friction over that water, we could see some of those stronger winds coming in. So I-90 and including the Cleveland area, we got to watch out for some of those winds coming through. Also back towards the other side of that backward C shape, we've got the Terre Haute area and really along I-70, some slow-moving storms, maybe some flooding. And that's also the story around Springfield. If you're along I-44, slow-moving storms just north of I-44 that could cause some problems. Now we jump down to Texas. There's a new severe thunderstorm warning just outside of San Antonio. This storm is moving towards the south and west, kind of a different movement than you might be used to seeing. So that's something to keep in mind. The storm is moving towards San Antonio from the east, and it is these clusters of storms that did put down those lightning strikes that apparently 3 kids were struck in Texas. So every lightning strike is severe, even if you don't have a warning with it right now. We have a whole conglomerate of storms across the 4 corners, some very heavy rain, including some water rescues outside the Flagstaff area. So that's something that we're watching right now as well. As for where we go from here, an area of low pressure across the west, but all that moisture still flowing up and around this high into the center of the country. And that's going to be the focal point for the next couple of days. Through the midweek, all that moisture comes into play. You have storms along this front and storms along the stationary boundary in the center of the country. And we're going to be watching both of these. So tomorrow, severe storms from Denver all the way over to Kansas City. Hail and wind will be the biggest threats across this area. And maybe a chance for a tornado, about a 30% chance within about 50 miles. And then as we go into the late part of the week, this area of low pressure moves a little bit further towards the east. The moisture surges north, Kim, and we're going to be watching that area for that chance of severe weather as well along that stalled out front. So that's the area we're watching today.
Of course, it's getting into Labor Day weekend.
Of course.
All right, so folks, be careful this weekend. We'll have more on that coming up. Thanks so much, Mark. All right, throughout the show, we're going to continue to count down the top 5 videos of the day. Number 5, Hurricane Marie brought high surf to Mexico on Monday.
I get goosebumps when I find a low price.
I let him know every time I save $1.
Every time.
Now there's a tool made for you. Introducing Savings Catcher from Walmart. It compares prices to top stores in your area.
No more driving all over town.
If there's a lower advertised price, Walmart will give you the difference on an e-gift card.
Oh, money!
Every penny counts.
Yep. Try the Savings Catcher for yourself. Go to walmart.com/savingscatcher and enter your receipt. Save money, live better. Walmart.
Hello?
Hey, I noticed your car's not in the driveway.
Yeah, it's in the shop. It's gonna cost me an arm and a leg.
That's hilarious.
Sorry.
Should have taken it to Midas. Get some of that Midas touch. I'll tell you what stuff needs fixing and what stuff can wait.
All right. Next time, going to Midas.
High five. Did not see that coming.
Trust the Midas Touch for brakes, tires, oil, everything.
Thursday, September 4th, back to football. 1, 2, 3. The celebration kicks off in Seattle with a performance by the newest coach on The Voice, Pharrell Williams. Followed by the Super Bowl champion Seahawks taking on the Packers. Then Sunday night is football night when the Colts take on the Broncos. The season begins Thursday, September 4th on NBC.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds. Slight chance of a rain shower. Low 77. Winds north-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies. High 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Weather Geeks, Sundays at noon on the Weather Channel.
Andrew, Rita, Sandy. Meet Chris, Jackie, Joe. Minor damage or major disaster. When you need us most, we're there. State Farm. We're a force of nature, too.
The Dyson DC59 Motorhead outcleans the 5 best-selling full-size vacuums across carpets and hard floors without the hassle of a cord.
Now save up to $100 on Dyson machines.
I'm a painter, and Scotch Blue is my tape.
I'm a painter, and Scotch Blue is my tape.
Pro painters count on Scotch Blue. Now with advanced Edge-Lock paint line protector for even sharper paint lines.
I am a painter, and Scotch Blue is my tape.
Scotch Blue Painter Stamp.
Well, it was pretty hot the last couple of days in some parts of the Midwest, including here in Illinois, where heat indices have been well over 110 degrees for some of these cities. This does include St. Louis today. We hit 111. Heat index is when we factor the temperature in with the humidity. And this is what it feels like. We had dew points in the mid-70s, so extremely dangerous to be outside for a long period of time. All right, so let's have some good weather this weekend for football, but unfortunately we're going to see temperatures in the mid-90s. The defending national champion, the #1 ranked Florida State Seminoles, travel to Texas to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. It is an 8 o'clock kickoff, 8 p.m. that is, at AT&T Stadium in Arlington with storms in the forecast, so please be careful if you are going to be out there, maybe having a good time before the game. So temperatures in the mid-90s. And I'll tell you what, heat has been a big story this week. Eastern Texas is only one of the hot spots, though. Meteorologist Mark Elliott is here to show you some of the other areas that we're watching. Mark?
Yeah, Kim, we've been following this heat for days now, and that's really the key. This summertime blast will continue into the late week, and when you have day upon day of this heat, it's really quite hard to get those cool down areas. You know, especially the nighttime lows, if they don't come down, it is really difficult to cool. Now, a rain-cooled area in St. Louis right now, 86 degrees, but look at the rest of the area, well into the 90s and 100s, and you know what, you'll pop right back up in St. Louis after those storms move on through. That's why the excessive heat warnings are still in play. Anywhere in that light kind of purple color, you really have to limit that outdoor exposure time. Is schedule in the breaks, get the AC, get the extra bottles of water, that's for sure. Heat advisories elsewhere in the red. Now, this extent has limited. It was as far north as Davenport and as far south as Little Rock, so the extreme heat is shrinking a little bit, but we're still looking looking at these southerly winds, bringing up the humidity, bringing up the temperatures, and really just adding to the already warm averages. Highs will be above average from Dallas to Springfield to Little Rock right on through the late week. So tomorrow, Springfield will be 95, but feel closer to 100. St. Louis will still feel above 100 for tomorrow. Thursday, Dallas will feel like 99, Little Rock will feel like 97, and St. Louis, you're still cooking. Although the temperatures do get a little bit of a break further north by the end of the week. Friday, further south, still plenty warm. Houston will feel like 100. Now, as we look at places like St. Louis, where the average high is 87, you have been nowhere near that recently, but you have a chance. Tomorrow, 94, Thursday and Friday, low 90s as well. By the weekend, that is your relief coming into play. Our next trough moves in from the west, comes all the way across into the center of the country, Kim, so that is going to be a welcome change, that's for sure.
I'll tell you what, Mark, it's a different story in the Northeast, completely different. Cooler temperatures are coming ahead here for the holiday weekend just in time. Now, some of you may want the warm weather for the beaches, but we're going to see cooler and even drier conditions for you guys. Temperatures now in the 80s and upper 70s. We should be around this temperature this time of the year. Now, we're going to watch the colder air coming in behind the cold front that'll come in later on this week. Northwesterly winds, cooler, drier air coming out of Canada is going to mean temperatures maybe even below average. So ahead of the front, we're going to be warm one more day. Boston, New York, D.C. We start to see the cooler air moving in on Thursday. Look at Binghamton, New York, the upper 60s on Friday or Thursday, Friday in the mid 70s. And now to our number 4 video of the day. We're going to go southwest of Chicago to Forest, Illinois. A storm started to move into the area last night. Check out the rapid falling rain and intense winds that whip through this cornfield. And in New York, tennis fans are hoping the storms stay away for this year's U.S. Open. Here's the forecast. Well, they get their wish. It's going to be hot, though, first couple of days. Then we'll see temperatures dropping the Thursday in the 80s, Friday in the upper 70s.
Zantac heartburn alert! Stop! Nexium can take 24 hours to work. Zantac's different. Zantac rushes relief in as little as 30 minutes. For relief without the wait, try Zantac. No pill relieves heartburn faster.
Pillsbury knows that bold, bright color makes everything more exciting. Like these 4 amazing colors of Pillsbury Funfetti that turn everyday moments into celebrations of delicious fun. Celebrate more vibrantly.
Geico's been helping people save money for over 75 years. They've really stood the test of time, much like these majestic Rocky Mountains, which must be named after the rock.
That would be Rocky the Flying Squirrel, Mr. Gecko, sir. Obviously.
Come on, Bullwinkle. They're named after...
First President George Rockington.
That doesn't even make any sense, Mr. Winkle.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Let's do the one thing that changes everything. And let's start at the place with more #1 choices than any other store. Behr Premium Plus Ultra Interior starts at $31.98 a gallon. Let's do this. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
When I had my first migraine, I was lucky. That sounds crazy, I know, but my mom got migraines, so she knew this would help. Excedrin Migraine starts to relieve my pain in 30 minutes, plus sensitivity to light, sound, even nausea. Excedrin Migraine works.
To remove this spaghetti stain, let's compare an entire tub of OxiClean to just a half a cup of Clorox bleach. Okay. How is that called clean? Clorox. Eliminates stains better than OxiClean.
Starting August 31st, the Weather Channel brings you a full week all about surviving the worst.
One goal, to stay alive.
Every night, vicious weather puts people to the test in powerful shows you can't afford.
Especially at quiet times, ringing in the ears used to bother me a lot. Then my doctor told me about lipoflavonoid, said it improves inner ear circulation to help relieve the ringing. He was right. Lipoflavonoid, #1 doctor recommended to relieve ringing in the ears.
Back pain? Get the same kind of therapy without an appointment. New Smart Relief from Icy Hot.
Press a button and relaxing pulses quickly block even chronic pain. It's wireless and easy to use.
New Smart Relief from Icy Hot. No appointment necessary.
Turn into a tragedy, but with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
This is Life Alert. Are you okay? I'm calling for help right now.
Life Alert saves a life from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Thanks to Life Alert, I can have peace of mind and continue my independence.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-491-1389. That's 1-800-491-1389. Call now at 1-800-491-1389 to get a free brochure. 1-800-491-1389.
Weather Geeks, Sundays at noon on the Weather Channel.
Stay tuned for your Local on the 8s, brought to you by ServPro, helping make fire and water damage like it never happened.
From restoring damage in just one room to an entire building, turn to the cleanup team that's here in your community and here to help at 1-800-SERVPRO, like it never even happened.
On our honeymoon, Sarah was glowing. Years later, she still is.
Nice and Easy Color looks lit by the sun with luminous lowlights and shimmering highlights.
She's more radiant than ever.
Nice and Easy for the most natural shade of you.
From residential to commercial, from large loss to emergency response. Whenever damage strikes, call on the cleanup team that's faster to any size disaster at 1-800-SERVPRO, like it never even happened.
Currently in our area, 87 degrees, under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds. Slight chance of a rain shower. Low 77. Winds north-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies. High 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
The waves are expected to get stronger on the Carolina coast thanks to Hurricane Cristobal. The waves were already a little bigger at Wrightsville Beach last night. Now the biggest impacts will happen, it looks like, Thursday. So let's talk more about what the storms in the tropics mean for beach conditions. Meteorologist Nick Walker explains the hidden danger from tropical cyclones miles from shore.
It's hard to beat a relaxing sunny day at the beach, but what's going on in our tropical oceans could mean trouble for those looking forward to playing in the surf.
Every time we have a tropical system out there and we get onshore winds, we have risk of rip currents.
And we have tropical systems in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. And even though they're hundreds of miles from shore, the waves emanating from them will be felt on both coasts.
Rip currents are channels of water that move out into the ocean. When you're caught in a rip current, it's like being on a treadmill. You just have no forward movement.
You'll know you're in trouble when you feel the ocean pulling you out, or when the beach gets farther away, even when you're swimming toward it. If you're caught in a rip current, try to remain calm and keep your feet near the sea floor. Avoid flailing around. It could make the situation even worse. Call as loudly as possible for help to come from shore, and keep calling out. Don't struggle against the current. You'll just get tired and weak. Instead, swim parallel to the shore. You'll eventually swim out of the rip current and back to the beach. Ironically, an absence of breaking ocean waves or water that looks calm may actually be a danger sign because the current might be flowing out to sea rather than toward shore. So watch for warning signs and flags, obey the lifeguards, and enjoy the ocean from a distance. I'm meteorologist Nick Walker.
All right, good tips. Thanks so much, Nick. Let's talk about these storms that are hurricanes that are causing the problems for beachgoers this week, the last week of summer for a lot of you. All right, here's the very latest on Hurricane Cristobal. This is the 5 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Winds are at 75, the pressure 984 millibars, moving north at 15. The NOAA hurricane hunters and a research plane have been out here getting information for us and did find it got a little bit organized, better organized here in the last several hours. A lot of of thunderstorms developing closer to the center, even a partial eye wall. And they've also found that the wind field has gotten much bigger. Tropical storm force winds extend out 240 miles from the center. Hurricane force winds out 60 miles. So you can imagine that's why we're going to feel the effects here along the East Coast. So watch the forecast. It is going to maybe increase in intensity a little bit. We're seeing maybe signs of that now, but move away from us. But remember what Nick talked about. We're going to see that rip current threat up and down the East Coast. So those of you heading to the beaches, not an experienced swimmer, got kids there, please be careful and please heed the warning signs. So looking at it moving north and east and actually becoming what we call extratropical or losing its tropical characteristics. Same idea for the West Coast. We have Hurricane Marie out here, once a Category 5, now a Category 2. Here's the latest advisory on it. Still very well organized, very healthy looking hurricane at this point. It will continue to weaken as it gets into water temperatures only in the 70s. Hurricanes need water temperatures to be in the low 80s or around 80 degrees. So we're going to see a much weaker system as it gets farther north and west and gets over the cooler waters. But we're going to feel the effects of it here in Southern California with the rip current threat and high waves too. So please be careful heading to the beaches here over the next couple of days in the Southwest, also here along the East Coast. All right, guys, we're halfway to our #1 video. All right, number 3, showing a lightning flash quickly lighting up the night sky. This is near Utah, near Provo, Utah, by the way. And also, big weekend coming up, huh? College football starts. Let's check out the forecast right now for the Texas A&M. That's number 21 in the ranking versus number 9, the South Carolina Gamecocks. It is going to be hot, so make sure you're staying hydrated. Temperatures in the mid-90s, lots of sunshine, wear lots of sunscreen, and drink plenty of water. We'll be right back.
This program was brought to you by Progressive, comparing rates to help you save. Now that's Progressive.
Hey, I like your ride. I just want to let you know, you can save a ton by switching to Progressive, just like Squirrel here. We offer great discounts, like Responsible Rider, Paid in Full, and Homeowners. Making us #1 in motorcycle insurance. Isn't this romantic?
It was.
Going the distance to save you more. Now that's Progressive.
The powerful and efficient 5.7-liter ME V8 with 22 highway miles per gallon and 395 horsepower.
Come with me now. Come with me now. Come with me now.
How far you take it is entirely up to you. Guts, glory, Ram.
Come with me now.
Hey, I'm Ted, and this is Rudy. Say hi, Rudy. I'd do anything to keep this guy happy and healthy. That's why I'm so excited about these new Milk-Bone brushing chews. I'm not the only one. It's a brilliant new way to take care of his teeth. Clinically proven as effective as brushing. Okay, here you go. Have you ever seen a dog brush his own teeth? The twist and nub design cleans all the way down to the gum line, even reaching the back teeth. They taste like a treat, but they clean like a toothbrush. Nothing says you care like a Milk-Bone brushing chew.
Will new Twizzlers Mixed Berry Bites ever end their rivalry with new Jolly Rancher filled gummy bites? Not today. Bites, little greatness.
Defiance is in our bones. Defiance never grows old. Citracal Maximum, easily absorbed calcium plus D. Beauty is bone deep.
Presenting the science behind Behr's most advanced exterior paint and primer ever. Behr Marquee. In competitive tests, Behr came out on top. The tough non-stick surface resists dirt buildup. The advanced UV protection makes the color last longer. Behr makes the beauty yours to keep. With Behr Marquee. Exclusively at the Home Depot. Good, better, Behr.
Check it.
I'll be back.
When you need more traction, Pep Boys Tires Made Easy process matches your vehicle with the tire that's just right for you. Trust the boys to get you there.
Deutsche Bank Championship, Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Golf Channel.
Currently in our area, 87 degrees, under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds, slight chance of a rain shower, low 77. Winds north-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, high 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Weather Geeks, Sundays at noon on the Weather Channel.
Labor Day weekend is almost here. It doesn't matter if you are heading to the beach or spending time at home. We have the forecast that you need to help you get the most out of that final holiday weekend of the summer. Doesn't that look fun? Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Cunningham. Welcome back to Weather Center Live. We will have a region-by-region breakdown of what you can expect this weekend. We're going to begin with the tropics. Senior hurricane specialist Brian Norcross is in the lab tonight with a look at 2 hurricanes, one in the Atlantic and one in the Pacific. Brian?
All right, Kim. Yes, we've got a couple of hurricanes going on. We've got a lot of other stuff bubbling up. Of course, we expect that to happen. This is the time of year as we're coming up toward the peak of the hurricane season. All right, let's get to it. First of all, look at the Atlantic. The wide view, and we have 4 areas we're paying attention to, starting on the left here, little area in the Gulf of Mexico, just have a kind of a half an eye on, but mostly it's just going to mess up the weekend plans for some areas there in the Gulf. There's our Hurricane Cristobal. Here's an area that in a part of the ocean that we would normally watch really closely, because this is where the big storms come from that affect the United States, although that one is not forecast at this time to become significant, but we'll keep an eye on that. And then another one that has the potential to be quite strong off the, it's still over Africa, and it's going to move off the coast of Africa. Look at this really fantastic streamline map. This is the computer analyzing all the observations from all over the world and then kind of figuring out and plotting what the wind flow looks like. The things that stand out is there's the Hurricane Cristobal right there, really obviously, and then this big system here in the middle of the Atlantic stands out. That's the Bermuda High. So the high goes in a clockwise direction and the low pressure systems go in a counterclockwise direction, and that high kind of sits there in one form or the other all summer long, but sometimes it has a different shape than other times, and that's what drives the storms. Also, look over here in Africa. We see kind of a swirl right in there. That's our disturbance there. And here in the Gulf, you see we have kind of a kink in the wind flow there where it goes like that. That's our disturbance in the Gulf, and you can kind of make out actually the disturbance right down there in the wind flow too. Little kink in the winds. That's why it's called a tropical wave, because it kind of looks like a wave. Here on the satellite, there's that one we were just looking at, that little kink in the waves there. There's the hurricane. There's our little disturbance in the Gulf, and over here on the right is the disturbance in Africa. So it all kind of, it's interesting how that all works out. Okay, here's Cristobal now, 75-mile-an-hour hurricane, and 984 is the estimated pressure, moving north at 15, so finally picked up speed, heading off into the Atlantic here. Now it's going to move by Bermuda. There's Bermuda, all the computer models indicating basically the same track. So coming a little bit close to Bermuda, so we're just watching that for the possibility of a fringe effect there. And it looks like it'll be a hurricane, maybe 80, 85 mile an hour hurricane as it goes on by. But the fringe of it could produce tropical storm force winds over Bermuda. So that's why they have a tropical storm watch there. Now it looks like late in the day tomorrow when those peak winds would go by there. Okay, now let's go to the Gulf of Mexico. National Hurricane Center puts a 10% chance on this development developing into a tropical depression, but this disturbance is moving toward the Texas coast. So this is going to provide some rain and unsettled weather here along the coastline here for the next few days. It's all part of an old front that was sitting there in the Gulf of Mexico, and sometimes old fronts develop into tropical systems. The tropical wave there in the middle of the Atlantic, it's got a 20% chance of development according to the Hurricane Center, and you see it's got nothing going right now, and it's not expected to have a good chance, but still 20% chance of development up in this area here. There you see the possible development area issued for that, so we'll just keep an eye on it over the next few days. That's over the next 5 days, that 20% chance of development. Here's the one over Africa, and look, you can see the swirl there. See that right in there? That's the system that we're watching. Hurricane Center has a 40% chance of that one developing over the next 5 days, but not until it moves off of Africa in this area here by the Cape Verde Islands. Could move north and just die in the Atlantic. Some chance it could stay weak, though, and move on off to the west. We'll see. And out in the Pacific, there's the big Hurricane Marie. It was a Category 5 2 days ago. Now moving away. There's a tropical depression down there. We're going to look at them in detail in the tropical update coming up in about 15 minutes. All right, back to you, Kim.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much, Brian. Take a look at this picture that we found on Twitter. Brandon Litton took it as a storm was hitting Detroit just a few hours ago, the one that brought all that rain. This was part of the same system, by the way, that hit Chicago earlier in the day. And there is more severe weather to track tonight. Meteorologist Mark Elliott is here. We'll look at what is happening right now and what to expect tomorrow. But Mark, it does look like overall the trend has been a kind of a downward trend tonight.
Absolutely. A lot of these storms are fizzling out. The cold air from that rain is now dominating the system. But those same storms that went through Detroit are actually making their way over to Cleveland. So we're going to watch them. But before the sun sets all the way, I want to show you this view. This is a combination of the radar and the clouds. And you can, of course, see them better when there's sunlight on them. But the storms that were over Indianapolis earlier put out this like dome of cold air rushing out along the grounds. And so from Cincinnati now all the way back to near Louisville and back towards Springfield, Illinois, all these storms are fired up on that outflow from those original storms. Now, the storms that came through this area earlier certainly packed a punch. In fact, we got lots of storm reports, including extremely heavy rain across portions of Indiana, where there was a parking lot with just perpetual heavy rain. Up towards the north near Detroit, winds there estimated near 50 miles per hour. And it's those storms that are now moving across the lake heading towards Cleveland. So Cleveland, showers and storms, maybe some gusty winds for you right now as well. And then on the other side of that outflow, a few storms have fired up in Indiana outside of Bloomington, moving towards the Champaign area. So those are areas we're watching carefully. Right now over San Antonio, there is a new severe thunderstorm warning just came out. It goes until 7 o'clock. Hail and wind, the biggest threats here. But what else do you have to keep in mind here with thunderstorms is that there is lightning. And when the storms came through the Austin area, there was a report of lightning where 3 children were struck near the Field of Dreams baseball field. So even if you don't have a warning, if you can hear thunder, you have to get inside. Of course, through the Four Corners, we are also looking at very heavy rainfall at times, including through the Flagstaff area. And really over the next couple of days, Kim, we're going to still be dealing with this severe threat. Tomorrow, basically, the Four Corners into the center of the country. And then as we get towards Thursday, back towards the Midwest again.
Right around that ridge. Thanks so much, Mark. We're also keeping a close eye on the flood risk here in the west. Check it out. We're expecting these storms to continue the next couple of hours here in Arizona, in New Mexico, in Colorado. And watch the flash flood watches. I mean, watch how we're going to see that heavy rain over the next 24 hours eventually go away. But we're going to be dealing with the flash flooding. Seeing reports now around Tucson of flash flooding, a flash flood warning in effect. Even water rescues going on north of town. This is until 4:45 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you're in Tucson, please be careful. All right, what's the setup? We have this trough over the west. We're actually drawing up moisture from Hurricane Marie as well. So we got a lot of moisture coming in from the Pacific from this hurricane. So we've got plenty of moisture to work with, and we're also looking at the potential for some very heavy rain just to the east of Flagstaff as it's moving right along, looks like the interstate. And some of those totals have been very impressive. 2 inches look at this, in 3 hours to 6 hours. So impressive amounts of rainfall. And again, in this area, it doesn't take much to flood. In New Mexico, we've seen storms as well. Most of them north of Albuquerque, but if you're traveling east on 40 towards Tucumcari, watch out for some of these storms. Now, later on, we're going to watch the trough lift out. That's going to mean a big change to our weather. At least through midweek, though, some lingering moisture will mean some thunderstorms here in Arizona and New Mexico. And as that storm lifts up north into Colorado, that's where we're going to focus some of the bigger storms Wednesday and Thursday. And that does include Denver at this time. So here's our forecast in Denver. Expect storms Wednesday, Thursday, but Friday, just in time for the big weekend. It sure looks good. All right, we're almost down to our #1 video. At #2, more storm images from the Midwest. A giant shelf cloud in Chicago. Look at this. This was last evening. Wow. College football starts on Labor Day weekend. Georgia hosts Clemson on Saturday. Check this forecast out. And most of these games in the South, they are going to be scorchers. 95 degrees in Athens, Georgia. We're expecting maybe some clouds that might help us a little bit. But just remember, lots of fluids, lots of sunscreen as this big rivalry kicks off here on Saturday. We'll be right back after this.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds. Slight chance of a rain shower. Low 77. Winds north-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies. High 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
There was a credit card where the reward was that new car smell and the freedom of the open road. A card that gave you that I'm 16 and just got my first car feeling. Presenting the Buy Power card from Capital One. Redeem earnings toward part or even all of a new Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, or Cadillac with no limits. So every time you use it, you're not just shopping for goods. You're shopping for something great. Learn more at buypowercard.com.
I get goosebumps when I find a low price. I let him know every time I save $1.
Every time.
Now there's a tool made for you. Introducing Savings Catcher from Walmart. It compares prices to top stores in your area.
No more driving all over town.
If there's a lower advertised price, Walmart will give you the difference on an e-gift card.
Oh, money! Every penny counts.
Yep. Try the Savings Catcher for yourself. Go to walmart.com/savingscatcher and enter your receipt. Save money, live better. Walmart.
There once was a hungry road that ate up tires, wearing down tread and wearing out safety. Then along came the Michelin Man, who got drivers back on the road with safety that lasts. Find your tire at michelinman.com. Michelin, a better way forward.
Introducing the new Optimum by Sealy Posturepedic. With cooling gel foam from top to bottom. Optimum temperature for a more comfortable sleep. This Labor Day, save up to $300 on select Optimum mattress sets.
In this bag of Gevalia is 150 years of Swedish experience in perfecting the rich, never bitter taste of Gevalia. We do it all for this very experience.
Oh, that's good.
I know, right? Gevalia.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm on it. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
You're covered, Kevin.
Thanks, Melinda.
I have blah blah insurance, so person, come help.
Hey, Grandma. Dad, look who it is.
I see who it is.
6 callers ahead of us, Jimmy.
You're not helping.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. There to help you anytime, anywhere, anyway. That's getting to a better state.
We're the names you know in the places you want to be, where you can explore super destinations and do everything under the sun. 12 brands, more hotels than anyone else in the world. For a chance to win $1 million, visit WyndhamRewards.com.
I've used Blue Emu for over 10 years now. It's made with real emu oil. It's a non-greasy, deep-penetrating formula that works itself down into my joints. And for all those hard-to-reach aches and pains, now there's Blue Emu Pain Relief Spray. Take it from me, it works fast and you won't stink.
In the fraction of time we spend driving in reverse, about 500,000 accidents occur each year, which is why the Infiniti QX60 has world's first safety technology available, like backup collision intervention, which can brake even before you do, to help keep everyone safe. Lease the Infiniti QX60 for $459 a month. Visit your local Infiniti retailer.
And before we get to our #1 video, let's look back at numbers 5 through 2. Number 5, Marie makes waves in Mexico. And number 4, storms southwest of Chicago. Number 3, lightning over Utah Lake. And number 2, look at this shelf cloud here in Chicago. Wow. That's impressive. The magnificent mile shelf cloud. How's that? All right, Mark Elliott joining us now. And Mark, you saw these videos. Which one stands out for you?
I can tell you I don't want to see the wave one again because just looking at those makes me a little bit seasick. I mean, you know, I get seasick in a bathtub. It just doesn't take much for me.
You take showers.
I do. Okay. I do not like the waves. But that shelf cloud is just epic. The length and scope of that shelf cloud.
Yeah, let's show that again.
It's just amazing.
Wow, it just goes on and on and on.
And it's helped out by the fact that it's over the lake, I believe, looking in this direction. And so there's no friction there. You can get the perfect structure. Plus, there's nothing in your way. Once you get rid of those trees, you could actually just stop there and get a view like that forever and see the whole structure of the storm.
Right.
That is awesome.
That might be Lakeshore Drive, you know, the whole way. You know, that's impressive, very impressive.
And then those are the types of features like those little hanging pieces that always get called in as tornadoes.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be on the right side of the storm and know where you're actually looking to be able to call a tornado from something like that. Those were not. That was just scud or some rain lowering there, but it's something to keep in mind when people call in reports.
That's a good point. You know, we did get some storms through there again today, but it looks like the front's through and we're doing much better.
Yeah.
All right, guys, time for the #1 video. This view from above shows the damage here in Napa, California, as they received this damage from the earthquake that hit there on Sunday. And we have some close shots of some of the damage that was done to some buildings and a church. But you know what the headline says? They're open for business. They are ready. They said it was minimal here as far as threatening their businesses because the tourist season is over. You know, the summer's ended, so it's actually going to be minimal how it's going to affect them, which is great news.
Yeah, and they just announced that all but one of the Napa schools are going to open tomorrow.
Is that right?
They're back and ready. They've checked the school buildings and they said they are safe other than that one, which needs a little bit more work before it can open up. But, I mean, when you see, you know, entire sides of buildings that have fallen, it's hard to believe that they can just be, you know, cleaned up and ready to go. But, indeed, they are.
I know. They're disappointed. I'm sure the kids are.
Yeah.
But, you know, Mark, we have great weather for the recovery efforts. You know, how's it look for the next 7 days for everybody?
You know, we're going to be watching just a slow-moving storm system in the center of the country, Kim, and that means for your next 7 days, if you've been seeing rain, you may very well still be seeing rain. A stalled-out front here across the center of the country, and this is going to be a focal point for you. A big dip in the jet stream, an area of low pressure coming out of the west, and kind of riding along that front. So keep that in mind as we go through the next 7 days here. By Thursday, that system comes into the center of the country, and there's a lot of red on the map, right? You've got that chance of severe weather from Iowa into Illinois, then back down along the cold front from Nebraska to Kansas, the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. If you're out ahead of this, it's still soupy, including in Dallas and Atlanta, low to mid-90s, and the humidity making it feel even worse than that. By Friday, the storm system, a slow mover, that's for sure. There is Thursday and Friday night football this week, the Friday night lights, and here Friday night lightning, well, it may be featured in the center of the country. So watch out for storms again with that slow-moving storm system. By the time we get into the big holiday weekend, this storm system gets towards the eastern third of the country. And with that slow movement, we're looking at Illinois, Missouri, down through the Arklatex, Louisiana, Mississippi. You have a better chance of seeing storms. And this whole thing basically stalls out as we go into Sunday, into Monday, over the Tennessee Valley. So where you're seeing these storms, we're going to continue to see the storms. Now, this is not necessarily washout weather. You won't be seeing storms this whole time as we go through the long weekend, but it does focus in on the Tennessee Valley and by Monday, even the eastern seaboard. So a lot of people using this as the last chance to go to, say, the Jersey Shore. Get there before Monday, because that'll be your better chance of seeing the storms. Then, of course, back out west Monday, we see our next system coming through the Intermountain West. So by Tuesday, this then joins in the center of the country. And with this whole kind of slow-moving system and just stalled out front, we're still going to be looking at showers and storms and, well, still some heat across the south. So, Kim, it's kind of a what you see is what you get type forecast.
All right, thanks so much, Mark. We have the new advisory in from the National Hurricane Center. We're going to show you right now. This is the very latest on Hurricane Cristobal. Right now, the winds are at 80 miles per hour. That has strengthened from 75. The pressure has dropped a millibar to 983 millibars. It is moving north at 16, so picking up in forward speed over the last 12 hours. We'll have more on this coming up at 10 minutes till the hour. And now tonight's weather IQ question. What was the quickest forming hurricane in the Atlantic Basin? Here's your hint. It hasn't been that long ago. Was it Hurricane Humberto, Ivan, Wilma, or Faith? Just think about it. We'll have the answer after your local on the 8s.
Let's try on a new coat, one that covers better, lasts longer, and protects us from the elements, inside and out. Let's go to the place with the best paint. Take it home for less. Then rock and roll. Let's do the one thing that changes everything. Let's do this. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Behr Ultra Interior with advanced stain blocking starts at $31.98 a gallon.
I'm Creek Stewart, Weather Channel survival expert. Every Sunday night, we're taking 3 regular guys deep into the woods.
Are you serious?
Where we'll teach them not just to survive,
Show make fire,
but how to truly live.
Look at this caveman.
Show yourself what you're made of on Weather Channel Survival Sundays. At 9, it's So You Think You'd Survive. Then at 10, Fat Guys in the Woods. Every Sunday night on the Weather Channel.
Are you ready?
Off the couch, into the weather.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds, slight chance of a rain shower, low 77. Winds north-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, high 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Dyson DC59 Motorhead outcleans the 5 best-selling full-size vacuums across carpets and hard floors without the hassle of a cord.
Now save up to $100 on Dyson machines.
When I had my first migraine, I was lucky. That sounds crazy, I know, but my mom got migraines, so she knew this would help. Excedrin Migraine starts to relieve my pain in 30 minutes, plus sensitivity to light, sound, even nausea. Excedrin Migraine works.
Want proof that Pantene makes your hair healthier all the way to the end? Put Pantene to the test. Watch. When hair loses protein, it splits and fails the needle test. But with Pantene, the Advanced Pro-V formula helps prevent protein loss and stop split ends before they start. So your hair passes the test with ease. Put
latte or Olay, cozy or cool, exactly the way you want it. Until boom, it's bedtime. Your mattress is a battleground of thwarted desire. Enter the Sleep Number bed. Right now, all beds are on sale. He's the softie. His Sleep Number setting is 35. You're the rock at 60. And snoring? Sleep Number's even got an adjustment for that. You can only find Sleep Number at a Sleep Number store. The time is now for the biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale with 50% off the Labor Day limited edition bed. No better sleep with Sleep Number.
Toothbrush, sweater, extra sweater. Oh, and this is the Xfinity TV Go app. He can watch live TV from over 50 channels and Xfinity On Demand movies and shows wherever he wants. Have fun, make some friends. All right? Did I mention his neck pillow?
Watch live TV and Xfinity On-Demand movies and shows on any device. Xfinity, the future of awesome.
03. Call today and make the switch to the AARP Auto Insurance Program from The Hartford.
Weather Geeks, Sundays at noon on the Weather Channel.
And it's time now to reveal the answer to tonight's Weather IQ question. What was the quickest forming hurricane in the Atlantic Basin? Here's your hint. It hasn't been that long ago. Was it Hurricane Humberto, Ivan, Wilma, or Faith? The answer, Humberto. Now, Humberto was a minimal hurricane that formed and intensified faster than any other tropical cyclone on record before landfall. Developing on September 12, 2007 in the northwestern Gulf of Mexico, the cyclone rapidly strengthened and struck High Island, Texas, with winds of about 90 miles per hour early on September 13. All right, guys, it's time now for your tropical update. We're going to send it over to our senior hurricane specialist, Brian Norcross, with the latest advisory. Brian.
All right, Kim, new advisory on Cristobal. Hurricane Hunter is out there and found winds a little bit stronger. Let's get right to it. Here it is, 8 o'clock advisory. This is an intermediate advisory, so we don't have a new cone, but we don't expect anything significantly different. Winds up to 80 miles per hour now, and the pressure continuing to go down a little bit. All this is more or less as forecast. Moving to the north a tiny bit faster, north at 16, so it's going between the U.S. and Bermuda, but it's a pretty big hurricane, and as it goes by Bermuda here, the winds, the tropical storm force winds, extend out about 240 miles, actually more than that, 270 miles or so off the center of the storm. So that's why they have tropical storm watches in effect. Could see tropical storm force winds tomorrow in Bermuda, but the main core of the storm is going to stay well offshore. Just very big waves for them, and also some decent-sized waves along the northeastern U.S. coast, and actually all the way down to Florida from Cristobal, because the winds have just been persistently there blowing on shore. All right, now look over the Atlantic and the Pacific, and we have these 6 systems going. 2 systems in the Pacific we'll look at. There's one little system in the Gulf. There's your hurricane. There's an area to watch down here just outside the Caribbean, and one over Africa that's really kind of interesting. Here's the way the weather pattern across the Atlantic looks. We have this Bermuda High, it's called. It's there all summer long in one form or the other. It's got to do with the rotation of the Earth and the way the land masses here are on both sides, the Americas and Europe, and that just tends to make the air want to rotate in a clockwise direction around the Atlantic, and that's why it's called the Bermuda High, because it's more or less centered in the Bermuda and Azores line. Bermuda-Azores High sometimes it's called. So the systems drive around that. System over Africa is kind of moving on off to the west. This one here in the Caribbean wants to turn up that way. The hurricane wants to go around that way. So that's the general steering on these things. But things happen, and as we get toward the weekend, this is what's expected to happen. The jet stream is expected to kind of dip down here and put a dent in the high, a weakness we call that there. So then we look at the system over Africa. What's going to happen as it comes on offshore? Well, a couple of possibilities. One is that this is enough of a weakness that it drives it on up to the north into the middle Atlantic. And the other is that it's not enough of a weakness that we get enough flow here across the south to keep it going off to the west. And indeed, both our main computer models that look out a week into the future are showing those 2 possibilities. The American GFS model kind of turns it up to the north, makes it quite strong. The European model keeps it weak and heads it on off toward the Caribbean and never really develops it. So the streamlines really help us see that flow out there. All right, so here's what the National Hurricane Center is thinking. They're saying there's a 40% chance it'll develop in this area near the Cape Verde Islands, which are right there, the Portuguese Cape Verde Islands, over the next 5 days. So anyway, something to keep an eye on. Over in the Gulf of Mexico, here's the system that we're kind of keeping a half an eye on. Hurricane Center gives it a 10% chance of developing as it moves to the west-southwest over toward the Texas coast. That may very well affect the coastline over here late in the week and toward the weekend. So just keep an eye on that just in case something something develops there. Into the Pacific, monster Hurricane Marie. It was Category 5 a couple days ago, now moving into cooler Pacific water. So it's weakening, but still a very impressive-looking system. And this is the weak little stepsister there, Tropical Depression Karina. And on the water vapor, look, you can see how these two things are affecting each other. Look at Marie, and look at this flow. Can you see the general flow in the atmosphere right there? This is the air being pumped out of Marie, and it's tearing Karina apart. It's kind of Karina's fault for getting that close to Marie. It's just one of those things. But Karina's having the bad time of that and is actually eventually going to die out. So here's Marie now, 100-mile-an-hour winds as the peak winds estimated by the folks at the Hurricane Center. 968 millibars is the estimated pressure. Now, in the Pacific, because it's not threatening land, we do not have hurricane hunters out there. So this is just analysis done by the hurricane forecasters and other people within NOAA that are tasked to analyze the satellite pictures and come up with these numbers. And moving west-northwest at 15 miles per hour. And there you see it moving over the cooler waters of the Pacific. So weakening by tomorrow down to tropical storm is the estimate. And then finally kind of dying out here off the coast of California. And that'll be it for Marie. No real effect on land except for the big surf along the California coast.
All right, thanks so much, Brian. Coming up next, the areas that we're watching tonight for the threat of severe weather. We hope you have a wonderful evening.
Currently in our area, 85 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds, slight chance of a rain shower, low 77. Winds north-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, high 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Elliott here with you, and we are watching a couple of areas for that chance of severe weather. This is the water vapor loop. The amount of moisture in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere can be seen here. One thing to note, that is our hurricane, Cristobal, moving away from the U.S. But back towards land, we've got this kind of old front and then tied all the way back to an area of low pressure in the Four Corners. And along that line is where we have seen some weather. We start off in Nebraska, where outside Scotts Bluff, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning until 6:15, while just south of Scotts Bluff, this slow-moving thunderstorm has created some flooding, so Banner County, be careful if you're traveling through that area. We jump down towards the south now. San Antonio, another minute or two for a severe thunderstorm warning for you, but there have been several storms that have gone through this area, along with a lot of lightning, and one lightning strike outside of Austin hit 3 children near Bee Cave at a baseball field, so that's something to watch. And we're also watching the heavy rain here across the Four Corners with a chance of flooding, and of course we'll jump back on if we need to. Weather caught on camera.
A fight for survival in a frigid sea.
Waves are just boom, 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 right on top of them, crushing them.
2,000-degree lava incinerates an entire village.
It kept going. It wasn't going to stop.
A home floats down a river.
It just looked like a houseboat.
Plus, a swamp sinkhole devours everything in its path. A killer storm causes panic at a festival.
It went from heaven to hell.
And staying 2 steps ahead of a giant tsunami wave.
They filmed facing the tsunami, running backwards.
I was determined to survive.
These stories and more on this episode of Weather Caught on Camera Extreme Elements.
People have kind of panicked.
The biggest tsunami to hit Japan in a century comes with little warning. and two men fight for their lives.
It all comes at once and carries you away with incredible force.
I was really determined, like, if I don't do this, I'll die.
March 11th, 2011. A 9.0 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Japan produces a giant tsunami wave. A few hundred miles from the epicenter, in the port city of Kesennuma, Kenichi Murakami feels the strong earthquake. He goes door to door with his neighbor, Suishi Takahashi, to check on people in the area. Murakami is trained in tsunami preparedness. The two men go to a nearby river to check for warning signs of a tsunami. Receding water banks.
I saw the river from the bank, and just as I thought, the water level was going down. I think it was then I decided to roll my video camera.
Murakami is shooting the video to use in future tsunami readiness trainings. He has no idea how severe this tsunami is about to be. The first waves look harmless, but then...
The sound was like nothing I've ever heard before. Those little waves had an impact big enough to move those boats, making such a sound.
The gentle river turns into a raging torrent in mere minutes.
The gap between the bridge and water disappeared. Everything took place all at once. At that moment, I decided to escape. If I ran forward, I couldn't see what was happening behind me. So I filmed facing the tsunami, running backwards.
Murakami and Takahashi climb up a fire escape just in time. The black debris-filled water consumes the school playground they ran across just moments earlier. They watch as their entire neighborhood is destroyed. The bridge over the river disappears.
I actually saw new houses which had just been built floating upstream. There was not just one, but a row of them being carried away.
The parking lot below turns into a dangerous whirlpool. One woman is stranded in the water.
There were one or two people washed away, but we couldn't do anything for them.
Eventually, the current slows and begins to reverse and pull back. Fires light up in the distance.
It was like only two colors existed, deep black and the red of the fire.
2つの色しかないような感じの夜ですけどね。80 miles down the coast from Kesennuma in Sendai, the tsunami wave is just minutes away. Yu Muroga is on the road, delivering medical supplies for work. He doesn't know the tsunami is coming. His dashboard camera is on and recording as he makes his deliveries. Tsunami warnings begin coming in on the radio, but he disregards it.
I thought it was for the limited people living very close to the sea. I didn't realize I was driving on the seaside.
In his rearview mirror, Muroga spots a small wave of water approaching his car, but thinks nothing of it at first.
I thought, this is an unusual picture, and was taking a photo of it in the back.
But when Muroga turns around, he sees the water is closing in all around him. The man ahead of him abandons his car.
The next thing I realized was that the water was high enough to make my car float. So everything took place in a second. My car was all surrounded by water, and I couldn't get out.
The water pushes his car towards a dangerous intersection where the current is stronger. Its force is throwing 18-wheeler trucks into each other like matchbox cars.
I was kind of panicking. I decided to challenge whatever I could. I was thinking very quickly. I opened the electric window because it will be shorted out when the battery is flooded.
Then his car slams into another. All around him, people are struggling to survive. One woman is up to her chest in the water. Another man is helpless on top of his car. Baroga's car is now close to that stronger current. He grapples with the inevitability of his situation.
I thought, now is the time. I was filled with fear, thinking, now I'm going to die.
His car is swept into the stronger current.
I was ready to abandon my car and swim in the debris. I was even ready to lose one of my arms or legs by tearing it off from the debris. I was determined to survive.
His ride ends when his car drifts into a warehouse and crashes into debris.
Lots of water started coming in, and all I was thinking was that I have to escape.
Baroga climbs out through that window he wisely opened earlier.
As I was getting swept away, water and debris were hitting